My name's Todd Baggett. I am the CEO of RedLine Solutions. Today, our special guests are Steve Devry from Continental Floral Greens and Bish Datta, who is from InThing, Director of Channels and Alliances. Steve is the Product and Technology Development Manager over at Continental Floral Greens. So without further ado, a little introduction. I actually started RedLine Solutions back in 1997. We're headquartered in Santa Clara, California. We have an office in Southern California and have clients all over North America. We're one of the leading systems integrators, putting in mobile devices, barcode devices, RFID, wireless, and voice in multiple applications to fit the customer's needs. We also have our own proprietary software for the produce supply chain, which you can see on our website. We work with a number of ERP and WMS implementers as their system integrator for anything to do with data collection and have multiple installations across North America. That includes people who are in Fortune 500s as well as startups. We've been in business now for 29 years and really kind of hang our hat on being the company that has great support and long relationships with our customers. Today, we are joined by InThing, and InThing has been a trusted partner of RedLine Solutions for over 10 years. We leverage their platform for a variety of RFID applications for manufacturing and distribution. These include medical device manufacturing, food production, and asset tracking. Today, we'll be hearing more from Steve Devry at Continental Greens about their use of RFID in manufacturing. What's important is that we bring clients to InThing, and we work hand in hand to provide a complete solution. This includes the software, the hardware, the support, and the services, which also involve tuning fixed mount readers for the environment in which they're used in. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce Bish Datta to go ahead and take us through InThing. Thanks, Bish.
Thank you, Todd. Hello, everyone. As Todd mentioned, my name is Bish Datta. I work with InThing Corporation, and today I'm going to walk you through how InThing partners with RedLine Solutions and other partners out there where we can help customers like Steve. So assume an environment where we all know there are multiple items, there are multiple assets in a workspace. Each of them have a different workflow. They have different processes that they go through, and they speak to different systems of record. InThing provides you that one single software platform that can speak to a variety of sensors out there, data capture sensors, whether it is barcode, whether it is RFID, ultra-wideband, BLE, your robotics. We can capture the data from all of these sensors, either individually or simultaneously, and interpret the data to provide it as a standalone system or into your system of record. So today we are going to talk a little bit about the products that we have. InThing, as I mentioned, is an enterprise software company, and we like to say we provide operational intelligence for assets, materials, and workforce. And I'm going to walk you through the three products that we have. Next slide, please. As you see on this slide, our first product is InVault, which provides asset intelligence for all the assets that you have within your organization. These could be your capital assets, your laptops, desktops, computers, or returnable items that are totes or your Kanban system that go in and out of your facility, your material handling equipment, or even documents and textbooks. Interestingly, maybe many of you do not know, but documents and books can also be tracked using barcode or RFID technology, and we have deployed solutions for these. The next product is Inflow, which is our material intelligence product, which provides intelligence from your raw materials, finished goods, semi-finished goods, consumables, parts, raw materials, jobs, travelers, any of these within your facility, each of which will have a different workflow. We can capture the data from them, their identity, their movement, their location, and provide it to you in your system of record the way you would like it. Last but not the least, we have InStep, which is workforce intelligence, which we are seeing an increase in terms of demand, as organizations are wanting to implement this more from an employee health and safety perspective, as mustering solutions to understand where their employees or visitors are who have entered a facility, and if they have left that facility in due course of time. So all of this can be managed using the same platform as I mentioned earlier. Next slide, please.
Great. And I'd like to mention that there is a question mark in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. At any time, if you have questions during the webinar, please enter them then. And we will, at the end of the presentation, run through a Q&A session.
Thank you, Todd. So on the next slide, I'm going to walk you through the power of technology, as we say. So each of the technologies that I mentioned, whether it's barcode that we have all been using forever, or the RFID technology that's been here for over 2 decades, all of these technologies have been tried and tested, and we know that the technology works for sure. What we need to test is make sure that a solution that you're looking for is commercially viable, depending on the pain point that you have. This is where InThing comes into play. When RedLine brings in a use case to us from any of their customers, the first thing we try to understand is what is your pain point and what is the technology that will work best to give you a commercially viable solution. The ROI has to speak for itself before you choose what technology you want to bring in. So a good example for this is if you look at the first item itself, you could have your supplies, or you could have consumables, you could have a box of gloves, and you could track that very well using barcode. You probably do not need a more advanced technology for that. But you want to, if you have your finished goods, and you have the finished goods in a very large warehouse, you want to leverage the RFID technology to save on labor, for faster finding of your items, as well as to make sure that there's better efficiency. So this slide talks about different use cases, or different material types, and what are the different technologies we can leverage. Next slide, please. What I'm now going to walk you through are some use cases and success stories where we have deployed everything that I have spoken about and in real life customers. This first customer is a Fortune 100 customer, semiconductor customer, that has intellectual property on their products, and they had 1 in 200,000 wrong shipments, which was not acceptable. As you can understand, because there is intellectual property, such mistakes are not acceptable. We deployed our zero error wrong shipment solution with them using an RFID, using RFID hardware and our software. And they have had 0 wrong shipments for the past 6 years, which is better than Six Sigma solution. The next is a dock to desk solution, which is, we all know that when items are delivered to the dock door, it sometimes takes days or even weeks to get to the exact department or to the specific person, because of all the boxes that come in are either barcoded or there is no identifier. Using RFID technology in a simple handheld-based solution, we have reduced this door desk time by less than 2 hours. And that is something that we have written into the SOW of the customer and proven to happen. Similarly, the IP traceability, which is intellectual property traceability, knowing exactly where an item is at any given point in time, using the RFID technology with handheld and fixed readers, is something we have been able to deliver to this customer. One of the other points we want to mention is this is a global customer. We not only service them in North America, but globally with 24/7 support that is available. And we have been able to integrate with 5 systems of records that they have, each being independent of the other. Next slide, please. The next customer that we are talking about is a very interesting use case, which is a glass manufacturing company where the panes of glasses go through 17 different workstations. So this is a work in progress use case. The interesting part of this is because it is glass, it is very tricky to find the right RFID tag that will go on it, the placement of the RFID tag so that the readers, the antennas can read the tag and interpret that data. They have a homegrown system that we have integrated with. And now every time the panes of glass go through each of the workstations, the data is reported into their homegrown system. Any violations, any dwell time greater than a certain specified time that is provided to us also gets reported to their system and records. There is also an indoor map feature that they utilize, especially for their finished goods area, where a large number of panes of glass are put together. Next slide, please. Interestingly, similar to the work in progress solution, this is a biotechnology company where we are doing assembly line clearance. And here we have improved the efficiency by 89% by providing the required output to the customer in due time. So RFID technology in this case, and specifically our software, has been used to uh, process the raw data into their system of record in less than 1.5 seconds. And this is somewhere they brought in other software companies as well. What this line typically means is you have your fixed readers and your data gets captured from that. And typically, a lot of software companies will capture that data and provide it to you in a separate database that the customer can then use to evaluate and do whatever they want. We don't do that. We take the raw data, we put it through a bunch of algorithms to provide only the business relevant data to you as the customer. And all of that happens in less than 1.5 seconds, which is what we have proven to this customer. We also have the high availability functionality. For anybody who's in the IT space will understand that, which means that the system never goes down. We have the ability to do load balancing and ensure that if there is a critical if you are in critical manufacturing, or if you are in a system where you cannot afford your system to go down, we are able to support that requirement as well. And it's already built into our software. It's not additional that we are providing. My last use case for today is next slide, please, Todd. My last use case for today is another interesting use case for a warehouse inventory and picking operation. We all know that warehouses have typically been on the barcode system, but bringing in RFID definitely improves the productivity. And in this specific customer, we have improved it by 90%. As you can see, they have a large number of items in the warehouse, which is 1.4 million plus. And this thing that you see here, the image, is what they call as a Joey. We have put fixed readers here. So instead of a person actually trying to walk around the aisle and do an inventory, the Joey goes through each of the aisles and does an inventory each day. And that helps them with better efficiency, of course, knowing exactly where their items are, and also improving the productivity, as I mentioned. We also have provided them with the software on the mobile computers that helps them do better pick operations, because the operator knows exactly where the item is that they need to pick from. And that efficiency is brought about by delivering through our platform. These are some of the use cases and success stories that we have had together. The next success story, which is a Continental Floral Greens, is something that Steve is going to walk you through. And that is also a joint success for RedLine and InThing that we delivered for Steve. Over to you, Steve.
Awesome. Thanks, Bish and Todd, for the introduction. So like they mentioned, my name is Steve Devry. I work for a company called Continental Floral Greens. And today I'm just going to share a little bit about how the RFID technology has changed our Christmas wreath manufacturing process, and hopefully take what Bish and Todd have been saying and make it a little bit more tangible and explaining how it's transformed our business. So just to start, I'm going to give a little context into our business, who we are and what we do, and then I'll jump a bit more into the technology portion. Next slide, please. So as you can see here, like I mentioned, we are Continental Floral Greens. We have operations going from coast to coast. You can see that on the map there on the upper left-hand side. Our main business is Christmas greens. So we produce over 1 million Christmas wreaths and garlands every Christmas season. You can see some photos of those there on the left-hand side. We have 10,000 acres of noble fir production. This is sitting right across from the Mount St. Helens volcano. So this is where we get all of our raw material and grains from for all those wreaths and garlands. And then we do have 420,000 square feet of refrigerated space for Christmas greens across the country as well. So we grow all of our own raw materials. We manufacture all the wreaths and garlands using a very skilled workforce of over 300 employees. And that's what we'll be talking about a little bit today with the RFID technology. And then our operations, we have end-to-end supply chain with those manufacturing facilities on both coasts. The other part of our business is cut floral and cut greens. So when you buy a flower bouquet and you have the green stems in there, more than likely those came from us. And then we're getting a bit more into some niche cut flowers as well. Next slide, please. So just to begin, I'm going to explain a little bit about the traditional method for creating a Christmas wreath and the challenges that we were having. And then I'll jump a little bit more into why we went with RFID and what it's done for our company. So the traditional way to manufacture Christmas wreaths is basically carrying your raw material over to your workstation. You can see some photos there on the bottom. You cut the material, you make your Christmas wreath, you put the wreath down behind you once you're finished, and then a supervisor comes along and does the production counts. One of the unique challenges that our business has is that in our Christmas wreath production, we implement a bonus pay based on your production rate of Christmas wreaths per day. So it's very important for us to know exactly how many wreaths each employee made per day. And so in the traditional way that we produce, our wreath making supervisors would walk around behind all of the employees and pick up the wreaths, manually hand count them, either write it down or type it into their computer. And then basically our admin team in the office would have to input all of those production numbers into our systems for us to know how many wreaths we've produced, not only for our production manager, but also for our payment systems. And as you can imagine, this is extremely time consuming. And one of the main issues we had as well was our employee confidence in the numbers that were being recorded. As you can imagine, with everything being manually tracked, there's definitely some room for errors there. And because of the bonus pay, it's very important that the employees are confident in the numbers, that the correct production counts are entering our systems. So that resulted in a lot of time spent in production reconciliation. So going through thousands of wreath counts daily consumed a lot of administrative hours, as you can imagine. And the other piece was the low visibility. So because the production counts weren't usually entered until the end of the day or the end of the shift, we really didn't know where we stood from a production standpoint until the end of the day, which is really difficult for us. Our season is very compressed. It's about a 9-week season. So every day is extremely important for us to know what we've produced to make sure that we're going to hit all of our orders on time. Next slide, please. So a little bit about why we went with RFID. So really the whole process started with the introduction of an automation line that we put in. You can see kind of a little snapshot of that on the bottom left-hand side there. So we decided to try to automate using conveyor belts to bring the raw material into the production room, and then also convey the finished wreaths out to our packing area. So when we did this, we realized that we needed something to track all of these wreaths as they're producing them, but also something that could display the wreath counts visibly. So we started poking into RFID a little bit, reaching out to some companies to get some quotes and just try to learn a little bit more about if this is the technology that could work for us. Very quickly, RedLine became a company that I felt would be able to deliver on what we needed. And then they brought in InThing as well. And so with that whole complete package, I was very confident that they would be able to pull off what we needed in a short time span. I believe we reached out to them in March of 2025, and we needed the system to be ready for testing by August of 2025. Like I mentioned, our season's very short, usually starts around the end of September. So we were working on a compressed time frame. So one of the main things we needed was an automatic production count capture. So we couldn't just rely on our supervisors counting all of the wreaths and putting them into the system, especially on this new production line. We also needed our workers to have visibility into their own production. So live counts as they were producing them, counts that they would be comfortable with and confident in. We needed our production data to be connected directly to our own in-house Continental Floral Green software. And then we needed a real-time quality control and reject traceability. So each of the wreaths goes through a quality control station. If they are not meeting the quality standards, they need to be returned back to the wreath maker. So we needed a way to determine which station or which employee that wreath came from. Next slide. So I'm going to get a bit specific here on exactly how the system works and walk you through all the steps. So the first step is for the wreath maker, the employee, to check into their station with their employee RFID badge. So this allows us to know which employee is at which station, so we can reconcile all of the introduced wreaths to that employee accurately. So after they've checked in, they start producing a wreath. And once they have their first finished wreath, they put on the RedLine RFID tag, and then they place it onto the conveyor belt, which runs underneath their table. On the bottom of that conveyor belt, we have an RFID antenna, which captures that data and displays it visibly on the screen in front of them. You can see that on the bottom right-hand side. So instantly, as soon as they have a wreath introduced, it shows up on the screen. So from there, the wreath travels down the conveyor through our quality control station, which you can see a little snapshot of there with the yellow overhang. And we have 2 additional antennas there. So we have a reject antenna and accepted antenna. So if a wreath is rejected for quality, it gets rejected. It goes through the reject antenna. It displays in the red numbers on their tablet. And then the supervisor would then grab that wreath and scan the tag with the handheld computer, and it would show them which wreath maker and station that came from, so they can return it back to them. If the wreath's accepted, it continues on down the line. It gets read at our accepted antenna. It displays in green on their screen, and it goes to our packaging area. So one of the things that we set up was an anomaly detection, which will show us if we have 2 tags on a wreath from the same station that are showing up at the accepted antenna or rejected within 1.5 seconds. So this helps us reconcile if there is any errors, and it just keeps our production counts super clean and accurate. And then the great thing was we were able to tie all of the data we were getting off the line directly to our Continental Floral Green software through an API connection. So we had live production data flowing into our systems. So no more waiting until the end of the day. We could see exactly where we were at any point in the day in our production. So that was a huge bonus for our admin team, our supervisors, our production managers to know where we were at any point in the day. Next slide, please. So just sharing a little bit of the numbers, some of the results that we had in our first year. So we had 258,968 introduced wreaths exactly. Out of that number, we had 255,863 approved wreaths with only 781 rejected. We were tracking about 6,000 to 7,000 wreaths a day. So we work 3 shifts a day, 5 days a week. So this is a 24-hour production room. And so we were able to track every single wreath that was introduced. And then our ROI on this system was roughly 1 season. So we saved between our supervisor time of counting and manually inputting the wreaths, as well as our admin hours in the office of manually inputting all that data. We saved roughly 1,400 labor hours, which saved us around $30,000. And then the cost of all the hardware and software for this implemented RFID solution was also roughly $30,000. So our ROI was 1 season, which we were very, very happy with. So just some additional benefits that we had. One of them I touched on, but the worker engagement. So having the real-time production data displayed in front of the employees was a real highlight for them. It created some friendly competition as they could, see the stations next to them, see where everybody was at in their production. But mainly, it made them feel very confident that the data that we were receiving was correct and going into our system correct, as they could just see the live numbers updating every time they introduced a wreath. So that was a huge boost for employee morale. I already touched on the double tag safeguard. So we put that into our antennas, so that way that we make sure that we're not seeing multiple tags from the same station at the same time. The traceability was great for us. I touched on this already, but our teams being able to have a live look at where we were at with our production at any point in the day was huge for us. And then scalability beyond wreaths. So like I mentioned, we have farms in 5 states. We have multiple manufacturing facilities doing different products. So we're actively looking across our company to see where this RFID could come into play with traceability, with other products that we're producing. So I think it has a lot of potential in a lot of our other processes. Next slide, please. Perfect. So that's all for me. A little bit into how RFID has transformed our wreath making process at Continental Floral Greens, and I'll throw it back over to Todd. Thank you.
Yeah, real quickly, again, if you have questions, feel free to put them into that little box that's in the upper right-hand corner. It's a question mark with a box around it. Next to that, you'll also see something that looks like a paper clip and a sheet of paper where we have some resources for you to download if you'd like to. At this point, Tyler, do we have any questions?
We do, yeah. Let me start. I see one for Bish, probably. It says, have you integrated RFID into other ERPs besides SAP?
Absolutely. This is a good question and a pretty common one. Yes, we have integrated with the most common ones, I would say, are Microsoft Dynamics 365, Epicor, SAP HANA. We've done all of these, but as I mentioned earlier, we also work with customers that have their homegrown ERP system. So in the glass manufacturing company, like I said, they have their homegrown ERP system, so we can work with that as well. But the other ones that I mentioned are the most common ones we come across.
Great, thank you. Steve, I see one, probably just a bit of clarification on the implementation timeline. They said, what was the total implementation time for Continental Floral Greens?
Yeah,
so you said around April, I think.
Yeah, I would say it was roughly 3 months. So we started the conversations in March and looking around for the right vendor. And then I believe in June was when we signed off on the project. And by the end of August, we were able to have the system up and running, ready for testing, which was a full month before our first wreath production, which was very important for us. So the total time frame on the actual implementation was roughly 3 months.
Great. Well, thank you. I actually have another one for you. It says, what was the biggest impact the RFID system made for your company?
Yeah, I would say it's a good question. I would probably go back to the employee morale. So our employees having full confidence in all of the production numbers and their own individual production for the day, and being able to see it live in front of them instead of having to wait until the end of their shift to find out how many they produced, was probably the biggest benefit that we saw. They were very confident in the numbers. There was very few resolutions that had to be made, and I think just overall the employee morale was boosted by it.
Got it. Well, thank you, Steve. Let's see. Okay, I see another. Bish, I think this is for you. It's about InThing. It says, does your system have to be integrated into an ERP, or can you do standalone applications as well? I believe you just mentioned your other one. You can integrate into standalone applications, right?
Yes, so we can have it as a standalone system. Absolutely. You do not have to have any system of record to use our platform. You can have it as a standalone system. We will provide the web application for you to which will have a UI and for you to see your data, which will have dashboards, reports, user accesses, everything that you can manage. But if you do have a system of record, it could be an ERP, WMS, CMDB, any of these, or even an Access database, we can integrate with those as well. So both options are available for our customers.
Got it. Well, thank you, Bish. Todd, I'm actually going to direct this one your way. It's a bit more generic about its manufacturing. It says, what area of manufacturing are you seeing RFID used in the most?
Initially, I think we saw a lot of asset tracking, not just in manufacturing, but of data centers. A lot of people tracking where the servers are, or what boards were where, because they're high value. We also saw them of people who were using them for calibration equipment, where there'd be a set schedule that they had to recalibrate some test equipment, and identifying where that particular equipment was and when it had been serviced or maintained was important. Now we're seeing more and more in the work in process, similar to what we saw with Continental Greens. We're also seeing usage in the receiving areas where they're able to put an RFID tag on, bring something in, scan an SSCC code, and then put it into either an inspection area if it's required, or take it directly to a put away location. We're also seeing it just in verification in general. And one of the common applications is you've got some type of a kit or multiple items that need to go with a shipment, and it's a verification that all the right items got into the box. So as long as the items are tagged, as that box moves by an RFID reader, it will actually verify everything is there. If there's something missing, it will actually flag that this item is missing and kick that box off the line.
Sounds pretty handy. Steve, this one I'm going to direct to you. It says, were there any RFID tags that could not be read? And can you estimate the percentage? You know, what did you do to work around it when these RFID tags failed?
We
If they
really
did.
didn't have any failures. I would say the only thing we had, which was an internal issue that we had to just deal with, was some of the workers, because they're working so fast, were grabbing multiple tags at a time when they were scanning them. And so that was kind of an easy fix for us, just to sort of teach them, hey, you know, one tag near the antenna at a time. And the only other thing we had was we had a couple of power outages during the season, internet outages, sorry. But luckily, we were reassured very quickly from our awesome customer support teams that none of the data would be lost. We could keep scanning as normal. And when the internet comes back on, all of that log data would be uploaded into our system. So I feel like that also just really helped with our employee confidence. But in terms of actual tag failures, we really didn't experience any of that.
Got it. And what advice would you give to someone who's just starting to investigate using RFID in manufacturing?
I mean, I would say be very clear on what exactly you're trying to solve, and then the biggest thing would be making the right decision with your solutions partner. Like I mentioned, we run 24 hours a day, so we had issues coming up, you know, at all points of the day, all points of the evening, and the customer service teams from RedLine and InThing were awesome. We felt very supported throughout the whole process. They came out beforehand to test all of the equipment, to tune all of the antennas to make sure that they were set to the right power levels, not too high, not too low. And we got responses back generally within minutes when we ran into an issue, which was very, very important for us, considering we have such a short season, as I've mentioned. So I think it's very important to make sure that you do a thorough job in selecting the right partner.
Got it. Well, thank you, Steve. Todd, I'm going to direct this one to you. I see a question that says, I'm hearing a lot more about RFID applications these days. What has changed? Do you think it's just the work in process that you had mentioned, or is it a number of things?
Well, you know, I think, you know, what has changed is that if you look at the large manufacturers of RFID equipment, such as Zebra, you know, they're reporting this is the fastest growing area in their product lines. And a lot of that, I think, is driven by the standards that have evolved, the RAIN standards. Also, what we're seeing is the tag prices have dropped dramatically in the last 10 years. I remember in early days, you know, we were looking at tag prices that were 40, 50 cents and above. And now it's gotten so low cost that if you actually go into a Walmart store, you'll see a lot of their items in the clothing area all have RFID tags on them. So tag prices going down, technology getting better have been two primary drivers. And I'd say, you know, one of the key things that we do, and Bish mentioned this, is that we always look at, well, what is it you're trying to solve? And let's make sure there's an ROI there, because there are some certain applications that are great fit for RFID, and there's other applications that are not. And so it's always important to understand what do you want to achieve, and then for us to work with you to help understand what RFID is going to do and how that's going to affect the production operations and what that ROI is going to be. Bish, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yes, I just wanted to add a couple more points. I think also, you know, more from a socio-political environment, the onshoring as well as the labor shortages have encouraged more automation in the manufacturing space. And it's not just these RFID solutions we're talking about, but overall, if you see, there's a lot of automation that we are witnessing in the manufacturing space, and our industry is able to leverage that as well. The good part also is tying into the fact that you mentioned, Todd, about tag prices reducing. The total solution cost has also reduced. And that definitely is if you partner with RedLine and InThing. When you look at a total solution cost, and like Steve mentioned in his use case, if you're getting an ROI of $30,000 approximately, and your total solution cost is $30,000, That's year one. Imagine when Steve goes into year two, he's not going to be paying for hardware anymore. So 60% of the cost just goes out, and he only pays 40% of the cost starting year two. So the total solution cost for an RFID solution now has reduced substantially. And when you partner with a partner like us, it's 80% for hardware and 20% for the software and services. So wherein 20% is only recurring cost for you. So if you look at it from that perspective, manufacturers are more inclined to bring in solutions like this into play. So I would say that's definitely an encouraging factor for them as well.
You know, and one other thing that that brought to mind for me, Bish, is that because this is a subscription, it also is a lower entry cost instead of having a high capital cost that we may have had 5 or 10 years ago, where everything was more client server. Now things being more cloud oriented means that you are working on a subscription basis, which makes it more of a operational cost as opposed to a capital cost.
Correct.
Tyler, do we have any other questions? Tyler, did we lose you?
Sorry about that. My mic was off. I do see actually 1 or 2 more questions for Steve. It says, where do you see Continental Floral Greens going with RFID in the future? And if you had to do this over again, what would you change?
Yeah, I would say if we do it again, I'd probably start sooner, just because of the amount that we were able to free up all of our supervisors and make sure the employees were, confident in those counts. So I think that would probably be the only thing we would change. In terms of scaling it across our company, like I mentioned, we have a lot of cut flower farms. We do a lot of coolering in and out. So I think there's a lot of applications for us in there as well, in terms of tracking, maybe how long items have been in the cooler. As I'm sure you guys all know, cut flowers are very perishable. So we need to make sure that we're, getting them into the cooler soon enough and then getting them out again. So I think there are a lot of applications across our business and different farms and manufacturing facilities where we can integrate this as well.
Fantastic. So Tyler, was that it for questions?
Yeah, that's the last question I see here. So
okay. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. We learned a lot about what's going on with RFID in manufacturing. If you have a use case you'd like to talk to us about, give us a call if you've got an existing account manager, or you can reach us through the web, or call us directly. So thank you for your time today. The recording of this will be sent out to you within 24 hours. And we appreciate your attendance and look forward to working with you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
thank you.